Breaking news. Things are heating up behind the scenes in Patriots Nation. Recent moves and swirling rumors have every die-hard Pats fan on high alert. Something big might be coming. With strategic changes, rising young talent, and veterans hungry for redemption, the Patriots look ready to shock the NFL this season. But before we go any further, have you hit that like button yet? If you believe the Pats have what it takes to make it to the next Super Bowl, show your support in the comments with, "Go Pats! I believe." Let's get into it. Imagine walking into a press room, and before a single question is asked, the energy shifts. You know something is coming, something important. That's exactly what unfolded when New England Patriots Director of Player Personnel Matt Groh stepped up to the mic. The draft had just wrapped up, and the Pats fan base was still buzzing with questions. Why these picks? Why now? What's the real strategy behind the boardroom curtain at One Patriot Place? This isn't just another recap. What you're about to hear is the raw, unfiltered truth behind the Patriots' 2025 draft strategy, straight from the man who helped build it. This isn't speculation. This is your all-access pass to the real conversations behind the picks. And let me tell you, some of what came out of this transcript may surprise even the most die-hard fans. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Drake Maye, taken 3rd overall, the quarterback out of UNC. Patriots Nation has been screaming for a franchise QB, and now they've got one. But this wasn't a snap decision. According to Groh, there were deep conversations internally about Maye's development, about bringing in Jacoby Brissett as a veteran presence, and about not rushing the process. It's clear the organization sees Maye not just as the future, but as a project worth building the right way. And Groh made it crystal clear. Jacoby's role isn't just to play, it's to mentor, to challenge, to elevate. Then there's the second-round pick that had everyone tilting their heads, Polk, wide receiver out of Washington. With Rome Odunze and Jalen McMillan getting most of the media shine, Polk was often the forgotten man in that electric Huskies offense. But not for the Patriots. Groh highlighted Polk's toughness, his route running, his ability to make contested catches. Jalen is kind of a do-it-all guy, he said, emphasizing how Polk's mentality mirrors the blue-collar grit New England is known for. There's a clear vision here. Get players who love football, who embrace competition, who fit the culture. And speaking of culture fits, Caden Wallace, the tackle from Penn State. He wasn't the flashy name fans might have expected, but Groh offered a detailed look into why Wallace was their guy. It came down to his consistency, athleticism, and versatility. This isn't just a body to plug into the O-line. Wallace, according to Groh, is someone they see starting caliber reps from very early on. But more than that, it's his demeanor. Smart, tough, dependable. Words Groh repeated. Throughout the press conference, that's no coincidence. Now, the 3rd-round pick brought a wave of intrigue. Marcellus Dial, cornerback from South Carolina. If you're not familiar, Dial's tape is littered with examples of pure competitiveness. Groh didn't shy away from that. He called Dial a football junkie, someone who's always asking questions, always trying to get better. Dial might not have had the national spotlight, but he plays like a Patriot, and that's what this draft was all about. Every pick had a common thread: love of the game. From Joe Milton III, yes, that Joe Milton, the cannon-armed QB from Tennessee, to Javon Baker, the wideout from UCF who just lives for contested catches, Groh kept emphasizing the same values: competitive spirit, resilience, willingness to grind. Let's talk about Milton for a second. There's a certain gleam in Groh's tone when he brings up the Tennessee quarterback. That kind of arm talent doesn't come around often. Sure, he's a developmental guy, but in a QB room that now includes Maye and Brissett, Milton represents the ultimate high-upside flyer, a low-risk, high-reward proposition. And it says something about how the Patriots are thinking longer term, building not just for today, but laying foundation blocks for years to come. And don't sleep on the day 3 picks. Groh went into real depth about Layden Robinson, the guard from Texas A&M. Physical, powerful, a tone setter. There was also Joshua Wallace, the Michigan cornerback who's already getting comparisons to guys like Jonathan Jones in terms of play style and adaptability. Then came Jaheim Bell, tight end from Florida State. Versatile, athletic, and someone who could line up all over the field. Groh referenced his background playing running back, slot, and tight end. This guy's a weapon, plain and simple. And right when you thought the press conference might be winding down, Groh dropped a little nugget about the final pick. Marlon Martinez, center from LSU. He may not be a household name, but the Pats view him as a strong interior piece who can develop in a system that demands intelligence and physicality. Again, back to that theme: smart, tough, dependable. But here's the part that might really hit home for Patriots fans. Groh acknowledged that while this draft added some explosive potential, the plan wasn't just to chase upside. It was about getting foundational players who buy into what it means to wear the flying Elvis on their helmet. It was about building a locker room that could gel, grow, and get back to what made New England great. Not just talent, but team-first mentality. Groh didn't dodge the hard questions either. When asked about why the team didn't take a wide receiver earlier, he pointed to the board. This wasn't a team panicking to fill holes. It was a team trusting its process. Polk was the guy at the right spot. Baker had the kind of edge and chip on his shoulder that made him irresistible on day 3. There was a plan, and they stuck to it. And maybe that's what makes this class different. For the first time in years, it feels like the Patriots are drafting not just for roles, but for identity. Every pick came with a purpose. Every player has a chance to carve out a meaningful spot. This wasn't about media darlings or combined stars. It was about football guys, players who love the grind, who want to compete, and who can help rebuild this team from the inside out. So now I'm turning it over to you. What do you think, Pats Nation? Did Matt Groh and the front office get it right? Which rookie are you most excited to see in camp? Is Drake Maye the answer? Is Jalen Polk the steal of the draft? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't hold back. This is your team, and your voice matters. And here's where it gets even more compelling. When you take a step back and analyze the why behind each of these picks, a larger picture starts to emerge. The 2025 Patriots aren't just rebooting, they're recalibrating. Rebuilding, yes, but with precision, with intent, with a clear-eyed view of what it takes to compete not just next season, but in the years to come. And you can hear it in the way Matt Groh talks about each guy. There's no fluff, no vague generalities, just a deep understanding of who these players are and how they fit into the Patriots' DNA. Look at someone like Javon Baker. He was described in the room as having that alpha mindset, the kind of guy who doesn't just want to be on the field. He wants the ball in his hands when it matters most. Groh went on about how Baker took every rep at UCF like it was game day. That kind of attitude, paired with his contested catch ability, makes him an instant fan favorite candidate. He's got that underdog story. Overlooked, underestimated. But watch the tape, and he plays with a chip the size of Gillette Stadium. Then there's Joshua Wallace, another DB with versatility, but more importantly, with the experience to back it up. He was a multi-year starter at Michigan, a team that's been producing battle-tested defenders for the pros. Groh praised his intelligence, calling him a guy who can handle multiple responsibilities in the secondary. And we know how critical that is in a Patriots defense, where you're expected to shift, disguise, and execute with surgical precision. Wallace isn't a splashy pick, but he's the kind that sneaks up on you mid-season with a game-saving play. Layden Robinson is another cog in this machine, a guard with size, strength, and attitude. Groh mentioned how dominant Robinson could be in the run game, how he creates movement off the line and finishes blocks with